Here we go now.
Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Welcome back to the Kempire channel, your number one source for pop culture news and music, entertainment, reality TV, and so much more. Let me know if you guys can hear me, see me. Am I live? I think so. Everything seems to be working. As you know, I had an appointment this morning with Verizon. Shout out to my black female Verizon tech. Come on now. I think it was the first time I've ever seen that. But shout out to her. Okay. Shout out to Goss the Boss. Shout out to Nelson the Virgo watching on Twitch. Don't forget, guys, we are live on Twitch, twitch.tv/TheKempire. I got this from Walmart in Tennessee, East Tennessee. Yeah, so, I love me some Dolly Parton. I have another t-shirt from the same Walmart from East Tennessee. But yeah, anyway. That was before all the, Walmart stuff recent in DEI. So don't at me. But quiet as it's kept, if I went back to Tennessee and I went to the Walmart and they had another Dolly Parton shirt. Lies! The lie! At least I'm honest. I'm walking around New York and I'm still seeing black people with the Target bags, but I don't judge, okay? I get it. You know what I mean? But some people are still reusing their Target bags, just like how Dorit's reusing her Hermes bags. Sometimes at least they are thinking about the environment. Recycle. Thank you, Dorito. All right. Right? Exactly. Hold on. Wait, where's the comment? Hold on. Where did the comment go? Oh, Singer says, I love a Walmart t-shirt. I have a bunch of them before the boycott. Yeah, because they have like unique ones. Like everyone always asks me, I'm telling you, always ask me about these t-shirts. Like, where'd you get that from? So it's almost like you get your limited edition t-shirt because trust and believe, you're not going to find this in Walmart now. What are we talking about? Well, we're rewinding and rewatching The Real Housewives of Atlanta season 6. And I thank you all that chose this season because this is an iconic season. Every week, we've been watching and recapping shows that were like, oh my God, this is terrible. You probably saw the new season 17 tea that's been coming out over the last week. They've had a movie premiere for Drew. They had a movie premiere for Kandi and Todd's new movie that Shamia is starring in. So Shamia and Drew are going to be pursuing first of all, Drew's always been an actress. So we're going to have competing movies this season. I don't care. I also saw that K. Michelle came out and is calling somebody a bimbo. And everyone was saying, well, it can't be Porsha because Porsha commented on her recent post and she was like, But if you notice, K. Michelle didn't reply. That's the word on the street. I don't know who she's talking about, okay? But she said bimbos. And I had to go through the cast and I was like, there's probably one or two people that I would consider a bimbo. And are we bringing back the word bimbo? I'm here for it. Let's bring back the word bimbo. It's a light fun shade versus calling someone a whore. You know what I mean? Bimbo seems fun. And funny. Okay, K Michelle. So apparently, K Michelle is activated in season 17 of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. You may have also seen that Pinky Cole, the owner of Slutty Vegan, was also at all of these different premieres as well. So it seems as the Neighborhood Talk exclusive said, was true that they are filming. No word on whether or not they are full time, but we shall see. Sierra says maybe it's a blogger, not a bimbo blogger. Who's a bimbo blogger? I don't want them to get wrapped up in blogger mess or fan mess either this season. So production, if you have any of that happening right now, put an X on it now. We do not want to see another Real Housewives show involving bloggers or some random that's showing up to filming. We don't want it. And matter of fact, don't invite us to your events either. We don't want it. Because in real life, you wouldn't be mixing and mingling and cohorting with bloggers anyway. Leave that alone. Nelson the Virgo, who's watching on Twitch, make sure you guys head on over to Twitch. Who's over in Twitch? Everyone that's in Twitch, let me know where you're watching from. Damn, y'all really think it's a blogger or journalist? Y'all, okay. Nelson says, we haven't heard anything about Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Why can't the others get the same treatment? Well, also, Real Housewives of Potomac, we haven't really heard a lot about. I mean, I heard a lot when I went to D.C. for my sold out show. I heard a lot. I'll save it for our New York City show on September 12th. Don't forget, the New York City show will be our final show of 2025 and our final show of the summer tour. The Brooke Ashley will be our featured host, and it will also be live streamed. The Revolution will be live streamed, so go get your tickets today for the Kempire After Dark, the Villain Era, last show of my Villain Era, really, when you think about it. Villain Era ends in 2026, so if you want to be a part, go get your tickets today. There's a live stream option, but if you are in New York City, what are you waiting on? Go get your tickets today for that. That's going to be a fun time. All right. Moving on from there. What was I talking about? So I went on a tangent. We were talking about season 17, what's happening over there. 2 movie premieres. Okay, 2 movie premieres. We had the opening of Nana's Chicken and Waffles. So they have a lot of events already, and they've only started filming maybe 2 weeks now, maybe not even 2 weeks. But here we are. Damn, my mouth is already dry. Okay. All right, let's get into. I did take some notes this time around just because I wanted to remind myself what's happening in each episode. We're covering 4 new episodes of season 6 of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. And I'm glad we're doing 4 because I just realized there's 27 episodes of this season. That's when we had long seasons. Okay. So episode 9 is called Midnight in the Garden of Tea and Shade. They are still in Savannah, or as Kenya likes to call it, Savannah. You know, we like to make things fancy too. So Savannah, they're in Savannah, Georgia. All right. So this is where Nene and Cynthia, this is sort of like the foreshadowing of what's going on in their friendship, or the breakdown of their friendship. You don't see it in the next 4 episodes, but this is sort of like the foreshadowing in Savannah, Georgia during this trip. And this was a fun trip, I will say that. But there was a lot of crying. All right. So Nene expresses her perspective on Cynthia permitting Noel to be dating Arthur. Okay. And Nene was just like, that couldn't be me. I don't think that's a good idea. I don't like how Cynthia's doing that. But a lot of older people would probably agree. And I know some of you, and you can let me know in the chat if you agree with Nene's perspective on letting, how old was Noel at this particular point? Was she 13? She was quite young. I will just say this. In my Jamaican household, my sisters were not allowed to date that young. Did they date that young? Probably. But just don't make your mother find out. And look, and I can appreciate Cynthia saying, you know what, I'm gonna make Noel comfortable enough to know that she can come to me, because God forbid sex or something like that comes up, she can have that conversation with me, open and honest. So there is a benefit to some of this. Being very strict could work, but she was like 12-ish. You notice how that makes a big difference? Not really, but 12-ish, Lord. She was like 13, 14, but she was young. She was quite young. Some people say you can't date until you're like 16. Some parents say 18. I don't think I would say 18 if I had a daughter or a son. I don't think I would say that. And very much like Cynthia, I would probably want to keep that open dialogue. And probably because of the way that I grew up, mind you, as a boy child, I never had those restrictions in regards to like, oh, you can't date someone. That never came up. April says I wasn't allowed to date until 16. Yeah, I feel like that's common, 16. But Noelle, at the time, I think she was 13. Quite young. But Cynthia seemed to be open to it. She met Arthur's parents. She chaperoned dates for them. Fine. I will say this, though. Noelle didn't come home with no belly. Just saying. So maybe Cynthia's idea of being open and honest and allowing her to do that at that time actually worked. But Nene, I feel like, spoke what a lot of people, especially when we're thinking this was over 10 years ago, a lot of people, we've changed a lot in our society, and I think parents are probably a little bit more loose when it comes to stuff like this, maybe a little bit, definitely more than they were back then. So I think Nene really spoke what a lot of Black mothers would have said back then and probably still say today. Fine. Oh, Danielle. I'm so glad I saw this comment. This is a good question. You guys weigh in the chat. Danielle asked the question, at what age would you let your daughter pierce her nose? I mean, you have them pierce their ears. I will say this. I went to a Catholic school, and in Catholic school, you wouldn't be allowed to pierce your nose. But I want to hear what you guys say. Danielle's listening and watching. That's a good question. We all want to know. 16, I think, look, if I had to really think about it again, and the school allowed, okay, I would say 16 for a young lady to do that, or a young man. No judgments. Maybe the young man wants to pierce his nose too. Well, say though in Indian culture, that's common. So, see, culture to culture, it's different. All right. Okay, look at this. Superstar 7 says, got mine pierced for my 14th birthday. And she turned out lovely. Superstar 7. Dark and Lovely says 18 and older. Angel says, I let mine at 16. All right, so there's a lot of freedoms that come with the age 16. Growing up in a Jamaican household, you had no freedom until you moved out. That's why I moved out at 18. Yay! Okay. I'm missing the comments. Okay. Nelson says, I pierced my nose at 20. You grown, Nelson. Were you still in your mother's house, though? All right, let me focus because we still have quite a few more notes to get through. So Nene expresses her thoughts on it, and then she starts going in. And we have to remember, remember Nene's a Sagittarius. She's also a very big personality, Sagittarius fire sign. And she's going in. She's just like, these girls nowadays, they fast. But we also have to keep in mind, not only is she a big personality, she is the head honcho. She's heading up this trip, but she's a head honcho. And she's, doing big things in Hollywood. So they look at Nene as the top dog in this girl group, okay? So we have to keep that in mind, that when Nene starts going in and making all these jokes at the table about how girls are fast nowadays, Cynthia is just like, first of all, Cynthia's like, I don't care what anyone says. I didn't really bring this up for a topic of discussion, blah, blah, blah. This is how I feel. Boom. Okay? Then all of a sudden, Cynthia breaks down and starts bawling. And when you watch the scene, it's sort of like, Cynthia, what is going on right now? Where did this come from? And some might say that Cynthia was being manipulative with those tears. I don't think she was being manipulative necessarily. I think for her, first of all, she's very close with Nene. And I think she sort of feels like Nene would always have her back. And in that moment, Nene doesn't. And she probably felt the pressure of what everyone was saying at the table. And she probably already has her own feelings. Because I think in Cynthia's head, she's thinking to herself, I've made the decision. I'm going to allow Noelle to date. I don't really want her to date, though. I really would like for her not to, but I'm going to allow her. And the fact that Nene was, expressing her feelings and then saying, girls nowadays are fast and da 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 da. Private person says Nene is simply overbearing all the time. I can see that. And when you think about all those different elements, when you think about her astrological sign, when you think about her role on the show, when you think about all the success that she got by season 6, all of that compounded, and everyone said that was part of the reason that Nene became unlikable, is because her ego became bigger. So between the ego and the personality, all of that is going to play a huge role on the influence that she has on this group. And I think that is what Cynthia was feeling in the moment. Cynthia, you know what it reminded me of? You remember Cynthia was on the OG Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip and how she flipped. You remember how she flipped? We didn't see that coming, and it actually caused a rift in her friendship with Kenya at the time. So that's what I got in that moment. The way Cynthia broke down and she bawled, she boo-hooed. I was actually surprised to see Kenya and Porsha actually come to her rescue in that moment. And they're like, it's okay, you're doing the best that you can. We understand. Kenya is now relating it to how her mother has turned on her. And she's like, I wish I had a mother that was so caring and involved and wants to be in my life the way that Cynthia is in Noelle's life. And even Porsha is giving great advice to Cynthia. You love her. You're doing what you can for her. Don't worry about this. And Nene is just like, I said what I said. Look, I said what I said. I don't know why she bawling. I think very much like a lot of people that are not in touch with their feelings. And I don't think that Nene is a crier like that. And when people cry around her, she's probably like, oh, okay. So seeing that, I think what Cynthia wanted in that moment, her being a Pisces, what she wanted in that moment were people to come and check on her. And I'm sure she's probably mad that Nene didn't come to check on her. Nene later on in the episode makes it light and fun, and she goes to Cynthia, and she's like, oh, you were like, like she makes jokes, she makes light of it, because I think that's just the way that Nene deals. I don't think Nene, based on who we've known Nene to be, she's not that sensitive person like that. I think she is sensitive, but I think she has a hard shell on the outside. I do think that she has that element to her, but she doesn't show it a lot. Okay? Shimmer says, Carlos was a part of the season. He brags about it all the time. It was a great season, but I will say this. A lot of people love to take credit for why these years were great. And I'm not going to take away from Carlos. He's definitely part of it. Might be also part of what you guys say made the show change in regards. A lot of people like to blame Kenya and say Kenya, since Kenya came on the show, it changed. Well, maybe not. Maybe it was the dynamic of production and what they were doing behind the scenes. Maybe. However, I believe everyone because season 6 was great. Everyone, production, the cast, everyone brought something to the table that made season 6 so incredible. And I'm glad that we are starting with season 6. So, Nene does later on to go check on Cynthia after her breakdown. Because she really had like the crying that Cynthia had. I was like, oh, this sounds bad, right? Yes, Tiara says the chemistry was good. Then Claudia came next season and messed it all up. I don't know if I would say Claudia messed it all up. I don't think she messed it all up. You guys, well, look, I would have to rewatch it. I can't say that I feel like she messed it all up. Okay. So Porsha and Kenya then have their own side conversation in episode 9, Midnight in the Garden of Tea and Shade. They end up, because you remember, they weren't in the best place, but they were getting along to get along, and then they end up sitting down and having their own sort of one-on-one. And this is where Kenya opens up about wanting, to be a mother, and that's how they can relate, because they both want to be mothers, which is so interesting, because remember later on when they were pregnant at the same time, that sort of brought them together. I don't think that Porsha and Kenya would ever be besties, but there were some monumental moments in their life on Real Housewives of Atlanta that really brought them together. in that moment in Savannah, Georgia, connecting over wanting children later on when they were pregnant together, that kind of brought them together. And maybe now having kids is something that connects them as well, even though I don't see them hanging out outside of filming. I mean, they have, but not a lot. Um, but anyway, guys, we're almost at 200 likes. Don't forget to like the video. It's an easy and free way of supporting not just my channel, but other channels as well. This is our rewind, rewatch, recap of season 6 of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. Our next season will be, I don't know, but it will be Real Housewives of New York. We're starting with Atlanta. Mrs. Green, thank you so much. Mrs. D. Green, thank you so much for the super chat. Mrs. Green says, when I look at how Noelle turned out in comparison to Nene's sons, I say Cynthia's way worked for her. Damn, Mrs. Green, you didn't have to say it like that, but I mean, Brent's doing all right, right? I mean, things happen. Look, you can have all kinds of, like I come from a big family, and all the kids turn out different. So you can't necessarily blame the parents. Okay? Kids make their own choices. Addiction happens. So, but I hear what you're saying. Noelle is doing quite well though. But anyway. And I really do not try to judge. And this is why when they were having the conversation at the table, I would never be a part of it. Even if I had kids, you parent the way that you want to parent. As long as you're not abusing your child, you parent the way that you want to parent. I'm not judging how people parent. I'm not. We will judge here because it's on a reality show. But in real life, you parent the way that you want to parent. As long as you're not abusing that child, I'm not going to say anything. Aurora says, can we be honest? No, Aurora, we can't be honest. No, because I feel like that's going, anytime a conversation starts, can I be honest? No. No.
What is this, honey?
Okay. Okay. Let's move on. Well, Angel, you bring up a valid point when we talk about the whole element of dating and what they were talking about in season 6. Angel says Bryce is a baby factory and Brent is just having his health issues. Yeah, I mean, when we talk about the whole aspect of, literally, Phaedra says she's happy to have 2 boys because you only have to worry about one ding-a-ling. She says when you have a girl, you got to worry about all the ding-a-ling. Phaedra had her funny moments. Come on. We're not going to take away from that, but I can't just look away when she talks about how Angela Oakley looks old. Literally, we're on her 3rd season and she's still giving old maid. I'm just saying, we didn't judge it. It was who she was. And now she's giving Instagram thought. Okay. All right. Oh, maybe that's who. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe that's who K. Michelle was talking about. Is she talking about Phaedra? Oh, yes. Could be. Anything's possible. Brent just had his first child. Samara says Brent also has a child. Well, yeah, he just had a child, though. How old is Brent now? He just had his first child. Okay. Anyway, we're not judging how people parent. Everyone parents a little bit differently. Okay? Okay. So Porsha and Kenya have their own sort of heartfelt conversation, and Kenya gets emotional about it as well. Kenya says she doesn't want to have which is so interesting to watch this in season 6. Kenya says she doesn't want to have a daughter because she doesn't want to be reminded of things with her mother. And I wonder, and I hope that Kenya is in therapy because I can't help but think that she still has residual triggers from the lack of a relationship that she had with her own mom. That situation is so strange in regards to what went down. We know that and we learn in these next 4 episodes that Kenya's father comes to visit, and her mother, I'm assuming, also was 16 at the time. Not sure, was 16 or whatever age at the time, was young when she got pregnant with Kenya. But even till this day, she wants nothing to do with Kenya. I think when Kenya had Brooklyn is when she sort of kind of, y'all said Phaedra ain't no bimbo. Was that a compliment? Okay. You know what? Here we go. Josh says Phaedra is the definition of a bimbo. She's just a smart bimbo. Blonde, big lips, nothing to say. It's a duck. What? Now we got to look up the definition of bimbo. Guys, we're being facetious. Please understand. Do not take it literal. Because, some people are like, that is horrendous. How are you calling it? Because K. Michelle put it out there and we're trying to figure out who she's calling a bimbo. We're not saying that Phaedra actually is one, but. Okay. All right. So Kenya talks about that. Kenya then ends up, at Nene's encouragement, ends up having a conversation with Phaedra. As you know, they are having their issues because of the whole Apollo of it all. So Kenya eventually sits down and tries to have a conversation with Phaedra. Phaedra seems uninterested. But how would you guys feel? If you were a married woman and you feel like this woman was trying to poach your husband, would you be open to being friends with her or even broaching a conversation? I just put it in that perspective as opposed to people that you either like or dislike on this show. Put it in a scenario if it was you. Would you want to engage in a conversation or would you be done with Kenya? But and mind you, it's not even just the Apollo of it all. They had a business relationship and then that fell apart as well. Okay. So they sit down to have a conversation, and Kenya seems like she really is trying to have this conversation, and Phaedra is trying to pump, because she was breastfeeding at the time. And she just seems uninterested in the conversation. Again, can I blame her? Based on what we do know or do not know from what may have happened between her and Apollo? Some of you are in the chat are like, hell no, I would not engage in this conversation. Tiara says that Phaedra said that she was done with it, and Kenya kept bringing it up. There was nothing to talk about. Well, if anything, Nene set her up for that, because Nene was the one encouraging Kenya to go and have this conversation. Okay. All right. And I'm just kind of give you guys an overview. We're not going into depth scene by scene like we normally do with a recap because we're covering 4 episodes in this recap. And don't forget, you can also hear our rewind, rewatch, recap on the Kempire podcast. Subscribe today. Also subscribe to the Kempire Radio YouTube channel. For those that listen to us on YouTube, we will be uploading our new podcast episodes there on that YouTube channel. So we're still figuring out the transfer of that. So if you've been behind, this is why it's important to subscribe to the Apple Podcast or Spotify. Jota says, no, you don't befriend no woman that's trying to take your man. Well, I mean, I probably wouldn't either. I'd probably be done with Kenya too. If I had to really put it in my real life perspective, I'd probably be like, girl, whatever. And I probably would never see it for her. But if you have to work with someone, maybe eventually you would get over it. We haven't seen Kenya and Phaedra together in such a long time. They still do not like each other. It would be interesting to see what that dynamic would look like. I think they still would not like each other. But okay. Natural Lux Diva says, I understand why Phaedra was upset, but her treatment was horrible and how she tried to get Kenya blackballed. Also, look at all the evil deeds she has done. Well, then there's that. This is why I like us having the conversation. All right. So Kenya and Phaedra had that conversation or lack thereof. The ladies get together and they end up going to a drag show that night, and we see Lady Chablis. I almost forgot about Lady Chablis. And Kenya says, I don't know. I thought it was interesting because especially in this season, they keep talking about Nene's drinking. I don't know if Nene's drinking had increased in the season, but Kenya kept on bringing it up, and Nene was lit. And nothing wrong with drinking as long as you're drinking responsibly. And they go out, and Nene's lit, and they're enjoying the drag show, and they want Lady Chablis to teach Monique how to. I almost forgot about Monique, to be honest with you. And they trying to teach Monique how to shade. So Lady Chablis teaches her how to shade. Cute, very cute scene, fun. It was a very fun girls trip. Okay, so they come back. Porsha tells the group that she texted Cordell. And she basically told Cordell she wanted to meet up and talk about things. And he replied back, "What would you like to talk about?" And she had not replied. And they wanted to see the text. Kandi has the phone in her hand and she's reading the text. And they decide what you should reply is that I would like to talk about us. And before Porsha could be like, okay, I'm going to send the text, Kandi sent the text, reply to him. It was like 1:00 in the morning. And everyone was like, oh my gosh. I can appreciate that. All right. Produce a scene, Kandi. Kandi then tells the group that she's working on a musical. So this is part of the empire that Kandi started building on this show. She has so many different businesses and things like that. So she talks about her wanting to do a musical and she wants to involve the group. And of course, she understands that Nene has done, she's the established actress in the group, but she would like to involve the entire group in this musical. Did anyone ever go to see the musical? I remember seeing clips. I think we will see clips of the musical. Do we see it in season 6? I mean, if she's able to turn this all around in a season, that's pretty incredible. But the issue is that Todd is taking all these other jobs that are more secure than working with Kandi, and Kandi is insistent on working with Todd. And I have to say, what we see in a later episode, Kandi is very much like, I want to work with you, but you seem like you don't want to work with me. She feels like it will be magical. Fast forward, Kandi was right. Them working together really elevated her brand, elevated him as an entrepreneur and producer. And I feel like based off of his knowledge, they really became a dynamic duo. But the whole narrative that Mama Joyce was spreading, and then we see in these later couple of episodes in this recap that we'll be talking about, where they're calling him an opportunist. Natalie comes in and calls him an opportunist. Who brought Natalie in? I know Cynthia's the one who brought Natalie in. However, that when y'all say Carlos, I wouldn't be surprised if production brought Natalie in. Just saying. A Mother's Love. A Mother's Love, the play. Did anyone go see it? R. Willie says 18 and over for a nose piercing. Okay, hold on. Queen Shamama says, speaking of Kandi and Todd, it's always a black woman to have a dream and a plan for a man to be great. Always trust your queen. And honestly, watching it during these 4 episodes, I was sort of like, Kandi was kind of giving bratty, especially when she started crying about it. But then when she said, right after she started crying, when she said, I feel I envision what we can do. And as a Taurus, we're always going to bring back to astrological signs. As a Taurus, we want that partner. We want our partners involved in every aspect of our lives. I don't know if I would do it. Like in my business side, like I don't want you involved. If you're going to be involved in like the money aspect of elevating the money, investing the money, and things like that. I don't need you directly involved in like, oh, this is what we need to do. But no. Or just have your own thing, but support me from the sidelines. Like, you can do it, boo. But he comes from this business, so it makes sense for Kandi and Todd to collaborate in this way. And again, as a Taurus, we take a long time to make decisions and to move forward with things. We like to cross our T's, dot our I's, double check it again, have someone else double check it. Let me double check what you just double checked. But Todd is a Leo. He's a fire sign. So he's going to push Kandi when she needs to be pushed or tell her what she needs to get done. And that's one of the issues as to why he didn't want to work with her on this particular segment. Bella says that Kandi was always a brat. She couldn't control her mom, so she had to have everything else her way all the time. It definitely gives brat. And I almost forgot, but watching it was like, she gives a very like toddler energy in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? Aurora says stubborn too. Excuse me? No. Yeah. But yeah. So we will get back to that. But so she mentions this during the Savannah trip that she would like the girls to be a part of it. They all seem hesitant. I mean, I can see Kenya doing it. She's an actress as well. Nene's an actress. Sidebar. I thought it was interesting. I mean, I guess because Nene was on the latest stuff. because Kandi said that Nini's the established actress in the group, but I was like, technically not really. She wasn't the only one. Kenya was an established actress. Kenya had a lot of notable appearances on television way before Nini. But I get it, nothing at that particular time. And Kenya was also producing her own movies and things like that. So, but I get it. They're talking about the level of things. She was working with Ryan Murphy at the time. Okay. Aurora says yes. He's about the action. Leo season's over, but happy Virgo season. Just saying. April says, yeah, look at us being psychologists, Kandi being a brat. I mean, and here's the thing. Us calling a thing, this is why I say we're team no one, because you have to be able to call people out when necessary. Just saying. Westchester Latina says, Tauruses are always right. I know you're saying that as a fact, period, right? Right. Nelson says, my birthday is literally in 2 weeks. Virgo season. Well, happy early birthday. So your birthday's around the time of the show, right? Soon. Our September 12th show. Speaking of which, guys, don't forget the Kempire After Dark live experience. Our final show will be here in New York City. If you've been waiting to see us live and you want to come to New York, or you will be in New York, go get your tickets for the show. And if you can't, you can get tickets for the live stream. So you can still be a part of the show. The live stream, though, you can keep that ticket for a week. You can watch the show up to a week. So go get your tickets today if you haven't already. Nelson says September 1st. That's the same as my sister. Her birthday is September 1st. Hey, Virgos. Okay, then there's a flying cockroach. Ew. Okay, can we just talk about cockroaches real quick? Because that became a thing here in New York City a couple of years ago. I think even last summer they were saying it. Were they saying it this summer where the cockroaches were flying? Well, I learned a thing or two, and I think this was during the pandemic. Because you remember everyone was like, oh my God, the world is ending. We had the pandemic and now we got flying roaches. No, apparently if it's humid enough and for a long period of time, those cockroaches apparently can fly. I mean, those things on their back are wings. Ew. But the way that thing was flying around the room, first of all, they were eating. I was like, luckily this was the last night because I would be ready to go. Ew, the thing is flying around. Porsha and Kenya are trying to kill it. Candy's like, oh gosh, here we go. Thank you, Sonia. Sonia says, I just bought my live stream ticket, Kempire. So excited. Thank you so much, Sonia. We appreciate it. Yes, guys, go get your the live ticket. The live stream ticket is separate from the actual in-person ticket. So there's a separate link. Check out the link tree for more details on that. Okay. Ooh, Jola says, come to the South and find out. No. But again, it's always warm down there. So that probably is why they fly. Here in New York, it's not always warm, and apparently those cockroaches. Okay. Can we move on? I just had to mention it. Because it was part of the episode. Okay, but before this episode ends, Nini points out this because this was a foreshadowing to later on. Nini points out that Porsha is a bad friend, and that they are always reaching out to her, and she doesn't reach out to them. This was that Porsha being babied all the time mentality, and if you called her out on it, she would start to cry and boo-hoo. April says Roach has been flying. Where y'all been? They don't fly in New York. They just started flying in New York a couple years ago. But they still don't fly. Ew, can we move on? I don't want to talk about it anymore. I barely wanted to watch this episode. Let's get to episode 10. And if you haven't already, guys, be sure to like the video. It's an easy and free way of supporting not just my channel, but other channels as well. If you're part of the replay crew, be sure to let us know your thoughts on season 6, episodes 9 through 12. We're almost halfway through season 6. There's 27 episodes. So we're a little under halfway through. Thank you so much. Look out for Lauren for being a member and for the super chat. What a cute picture, Lauren. She says, hey, Camp, so random, but I finally realized what Phaedra's reunion reminded me of. Google King Triton from the original. No, you're right. Yes, I agree. Yeah, we don't need to Google it. We know what King Triton is because we literally just watched The Little Mermaid, the live action film with Halle Bailey. So, no, it definitely is giving Little Mermaid. King Triton, the female version. She's Queen Triton. But that was definitely not what the theme was supposed to be. Okay? All right. Let's move on. All right, let's get to episode 10, A Trip Down Memory Lane. Phaedra talks about how everyone knows each other in Athens. So here's the thing. It's so interesting to watch season 6, because when we talk about season 16 and the messy Marcus of it all, and how Angela was like, Athens is it's just so big. It's a small town. Everyone knows each other. So when we rewind and Phaedra during the reunion is like, just because he's from Athens doesn't mean I know him. Well, in season 6, that's not what you said. She's like, we ain't got but 2 high schools in Athens. She's like, there's usually 2 degrees of separation in Athens, which is why I find it so funny that Nene pretended like she didn't know me. So she said this herself in season 6 that that everyone in Athens, it is a small town and everyone knows each other. So in this episode, we're seeing Phaedra, Chuck, and Nene go back to Athens to give back to Athens to the Boys and Girls Club. Is the Boys and Girls Club still open? Is it? I remember seeing that in New York, but I haven't seen one in forever. Is the Boys and Girls Club still open? Is that still a thing? Savannah said Junebug. Yeah, Junebug. Okay, Malerie. I forgot how messy Malerie was. So Cynthia's sister Malerie reveals that she's in town to visit, but she's staying for 2 months. But she never told Cynthia, and Cynthia ends up not telling Peter immediately or asking Peter. But in this conversation with Malerie, she also talks about her sex life. Do you talk about your sex life with your siblings? Or the specifics of your sex life? It's one thing to talk about your sex life, but to talk about the specifics of your sex life. I thought that was interesting. I was like, why is Cynthia sharing so much about her sex life with her sister? But her sister was also talking about her sex life. She's like, I'm doing it every day with my boo. Is Malerie still married to her basketball husband? Is she still married to him? Malerie and Cynthia are gorgeous and their mother's gorgeous. That's just a gorgeous home. Oh, it is open? Okay. Okay, the Boys and Girls Club is still open. All right. Just Chilling says, does this review include the fight? Which fight? The Pillow Talk? No, that will be next week. We will be talking about Pillow Talk next week. Those are the next 4 episodes. Kevin says, Malerie irked me. Yeah, because Malerie, look, I get it. Some people are like that when it comes to their family. Like, if they come, they can stay forever, how long you want. But not me. No. And my family already knows that. You're going to have to, first of all, ask me. And you're also going to have to let me know that you're coming. You can't just show up at my door. No one can just show up at my door. Rude. Angel says that you get a 3-day limit with me at max. And you heard what Phaedra said. She was just like, family is like fish. You got to throw them out after 3 days. Again, this is where Phaedra was funny. I get why people liked Phaedra back in the day. You had all these little funny commentary from her. Mama Allie says, I do not talk to my sister about my sex life. Nope. Me either. Or lack thereof. Or like this. Oh, Lord. Jamaki says, thank you for remembering Jamaki. Jamaki says, that's rude. Weekend, yes, 2 months. That is pretty big. But Malerie kept on saying, like, oh, she could do that with me. That's all well and good. And it seemed as if Cynthia did not put her foot down when it came to it anyway. RC, thank you so much for the super chat. RC says, ironically, but now she don't know Junebug. Phaedra. Yeah, but now she don't know Junebug. Oh gosh, guys, we're almost at 300 likes. Keep liking the video. Keep sharing the video. Share this to your friend groups. Share this to your social media. Let people know that we're live with our rewind, rewatch, a recap of The Real Housewives of Atlanta season 6. We're on episodes 9 through 12. Right now, we're on episode 10. Let me move through this because we still have a lot more to talk about. All right, so Kandi has a combo with her mother. And if you have a Scorpio mom, you understood this combo better than anyone, right? People with the Scorpio moms. The way that she tried to guilt trip Kandi. Like, Scorpio moms are like, there's never a positive thing that comes out. She's like, so she's still when she hears Kandi visits her at the hair salon, she's getting her hair done, and she's talking about her play, A Mother's Love, and what it's going to be about, and how it has a happy ending. And she's just looking at her like, mm-hmm. And then Mama Joyce says to Kandi that this whole situation's like a dagger in her heart. She says that she went to the doctor. I went to the doctor. And he said, and I just learned that I just gotta let it go. I just gotta let this go. What? What? All dramatic, like, and Kandi is not falling for it because Kandi, very much like me, no. She's just like, mm-hmm. So what, you went to the doctor? What, did they say something? And she's like, no. Okay, so why did you have to mention that you went to the doctor? And she's like, I gotta worry about me and the little life I have left. I don't mean to laugh because we can at least say this was how many years ago? Over 10 years ago, okay? And she made it seem like she was on her deathbed, Mama Joyce, okay? Dave Crochet says, not too much on the Scorpios. I could talk. I have 2 Scorpio parents, okay? And a Scorpio mother. So Mama Joyce says, I gotta focus on me and the little bit of life I got left. And poor Candy's like, wait, is something going on? And she's like, that you gotta tell me about? She's like, well, no. No. Oh my God. Right? K-Baby says, Mama Joyce was wrong for playing with her health. But here's the thing. It's not even just Scorpio moms. Moms, black moms in general are going to do this. They're going to guilt trip you. And if you're Jewish, the Jewish mom guilt, come on. Come on. We all can relate. This is what brings us all together as a community culturally. Okay? Just say it. K-Score. Damn, I walk in and it's Scorpio slander immediately. Sorry. Anyway. Tina's so wrong. Tina says, meaning focus on the shopping network. That shopping network is something else. So you can find some good stuff. I have to say, like HSN and the other one, they have some like good food, and sometimes like I don't mind it. I don't mind it. You can find some really QVC. You can find some really good stuff on there. I've gotten a couple of different things on QVC over the years that I'm like, oh my, this is actually quality. Like the food. I don't think people know that. The food on QVC, I don't know how it is today. I remember a few years ago, I've gotten food from them. The food can be good. All right, let me not get started. Okay. Exactly. Pageant mommy, do you do that to your child? Mothers will guilt their children. Just saying. It's common. Mm-hmm. Funky says, yet nothing has changed with Mama Joyce. Nothing. It makes me wonder how she is with Todd now, though. You know what I mean? She has to have gotten over. I know she's made recent comments which set them back, but I wonder like what that dynamic is. Maybe it's different now because they have 2 kids together. Okay. See, Westchester Latina says, I love QVC food. I haven't bought in QVC food in a long time, but anything from Stacy. Stacy doesn't have anything on QVC. I've never seen her on QVC. I think she was on one of those other channels with TJ. Ooh! I've never seen her on QVC. She definitely gives QVC. I think she shouldn't have quit that job. I think she should have leveraged her opportunity on Real Housewives of Potomac to get like her own line. Because remember, she was talking about, oh, you probably don't know this. When she came to my DC show and we interviewed her, she talked about she was working on her own line with QVC before she quit. But knowing Stacey, that probably was the lie. It probably was a lie. But now she probably could leverage being on Real Housewives of Potomac and get her own line on QVC. And I think she would do fantastic because she has that aura of QVC. I think she'd be fantastic at doing that. Damn. Jane says $50 says she still treats him the same. Nope, I'm not betting on that. Look, I'm not betting on that. HSN is now owns QVC, so it's all the same now. I think she was on QVC though. I think. I don't know. Don't get me lying. I just remember I don't remember her. But it's okay. It's all right. All right, fine. All right, let's move on. let me move on. So Cynthia talks about the issues that she's having in the bedroom with Peter, with her sister. Okay, we already talked about that. Okay, Peter. So one of the things that we learned is that Peter bought a new car without telling Cynthia. And she tells this to Malerie. And she tells this to the entire world. Huh? There's a lot of stuff. And if you watched our recent recaps, there's a lot of stuff that Peter's doing without talking with Cynthia. And it's not like Peter is the breadwinner here. Okay? So that to me is shaky. And I get it. What they did at the wedding was wrong, but that really wasn't Cynthia. And Cynthia should have told you. However, are you making her pay for that? This is the second time he bought that building without telling her. And then he bought this car, Mercedes-Benz, without telling her. And some might say, well, he has his own money. Yeah, but still, if you're going to make a big purchase like that, you should be discussing this with your partner. Don't you think? Just saying. All right. So she brings that up. Cynthia tells Peter that Malerie is going to stay with them for 2 months. And then we have this heated conversation with Cynthia and Peter. I will say this. Watching this heated conversation with Cynthia and Peter kind of frightened me the way that he was speaking to Cynthia. But pay attention, because Nene has said this a long time, and she talked about conversations that she's seen with Peter and Cynthia. And she's like, Cynthia is not who you guys think that she is. She's not meek and mild. If you pay attention to this conversation, I'm getting a little scared for Cynthia. Cynthia seems sitting there unbothered with him getting real crunk with her in that moment. Okay? Right, Keith? Cynthia said in the last episode, episode 12, Peter has never been called an opportunist, but his behavior is giving opportunist. This is when she was talking about Kandi bringing up, I know a bunch of things about Peter, but I haven't said it. And then Cynthia's like, how I get in this? And the reason why Kandi probably said that in episode 12 was because this is your friend Natalie bringing this tea to this conversation. So she probably is looking at you sideways. But she's like, I know a bunch of stuff about Peter, but I've never said anything. What did Kandi know about Peter? I can't remember it. I don't know if she's ever even said anything. But anyway. So Cynthia and Peter get into this heated conversation. He gets real angry. I don't like the way he spoke to her. I don't. But again, she did not seem bothered by it. She was just like this. She's like, but one of the things that Cynthia said to him in this conversation that I couldn't disagree with, she's like, oh, if you want me to be all in lingerie and have sex when you want to have sex, well, then you need to be putting me in a position where I'm not having to work. Because she talks about the dynamics when it comes to her family and her family being there. She's like, I need my mom when it comes to taking care of Noelle. I have to work. The lifestyle that we have is not one where I cannot work. And I was like, so that could be emasculating for a man, but it's the truth. So Cynthia basically laid it out there. She's like, you're not putting me in a position where I could be sitting at home taking care of Noelle, and then when you come home, I'm in lingerie and we can have sex whenever we want. I'm out here working so that we can pay for these things. I thought that was like, Exactly. Kay says, Cynthia said, when these cameras leave, that's the face that she was giving. She did not seem moved. I was like this, I was shook by the way that he was speaking to her. She didn't seem shook. Ruth Ann says that Cynthia was used to his bullcrap. I can't remember why she decided to divorce him or what excuse she ended up saying. All right. Chef Lorraine says Peter probably visited Kandi's dungeon. Went to twice. Josh says Cynthia keep a bag, Bailey, big Bailey. I mean, and look now, she's turned this friend of opportunity. She's got multiple businesses that she's launched since then. Cynthia's launched a skincare line. She has a Giovanni suit line that's coming out. She's got a few things. I mean, she still has her other, the Bailey, the bag stuff that she was doing. She used to have the eyeglass thing, but she doesn't have the shades anymore. She tries to launch things while she's on this platform. A lot of them haven't really stuck, though. She's talked about this recently, and then she was talking about Kathy Ireland and how Kathy Ireland, the lesson that she learned from Kathy Ireland to never turn down any sort of sponsorships or endorsements. So that's part of why she continues to do all these different brand deals and whatnot. The big thing, though, at the end of the day, is not just to be sort of like the influencer or just the face of a brand. You really want a percentage in the brand. I don't know what her deal makeup is, but that's the important business aspect for all of us to know. Sometimes it's not sometimes it's worth it for us when doing a deal to take a lesser in the overhead and more in the percent, like owner percentage. All right. Exactly. K Baby says Cynthia got out of that marriage at the perfect time. Some might say maybe not in time enough, because still, remember, she had to deal with a lot. But now looking back, based on what we see now in his future, which is jail, a federal prison, she definitely got out of that relationship at the right time. But you're already starting to see the cracks. They're celebrating in these next 4 episodes. They're celebrating their 3rd anniversary. You remember that the scene where Christopher Williams comes and sings for them. Christopher Williams really could sing. Like, I knew he could sing, but sometimes, some of these R&B singers, they live a hard life, and the voice is not the same. No, when he sang, I was like, Christopher Williams can still sing. Look. All right, let's move on from there. So, Peter and her had that conversation, but Peter also wanted to have his own sort of like guy pad. And she was like, you're not going to go have your own guy pad, because she's like, are you going to go bring in other women and stuff like that over there? But his big gripe is that you're bringing people into the house. We can't even argue the way that we need to argue. I'm like, oh. I mean, I get it. I think we all agree that Malerie should not be staying at their house for 2 months unless it's like necessary. If you're going to be in Atlanta for 2 months, then girl, you need to go get an Airbnb or something, or, get some sort of like short-term lease for 2 months. But Mallory is probably helping out a lot and stuff like that, but you need to ask. You can't just come up there and assume. Okay. Then Porsha moved into this new home. Porsha moved into this 8,000 square foot home. And I almost, because immediately my first thought was like, why does she need an 8,000 square foot home? And I don't know what she was being paid. Remember, this is only her 2nd season of being on Real Housewives of Atlanta. And again, it's Atlanta. So, I don't know if this was Atlanta proper, but this is Georgia, and it's far cheaper than certain parts of the other parts, like New York. It's cheaper than New York. But she did not need this 8,000 square foot home. She doesn't end up, this is not the Duluth home that she ends up buying, that she's now selling. But I found it to be interesting. Porsha reveals to her family that she texts Cordell, and they were like, what? First of all, before we even get to that, so her mom comes in and she's walking around, it's like, oh my gosh, this is a very big place. She really doesn't need this big place. She doesn't have kids, whatever. So Porsha is like, she texts Cordell, and she had a conversation with Cordell, and Cordell basically gave her an ultimatum. He's like, come home or fend for yourself. I completely forgot that Cordell still wanted Porsha to come back. I thought that was interesting. So it makes me wonder, why did Cordell file for divorce in the first place? Did he not like how he appeared on Real Housewives of Atlanta? Did he not want her to return to Real Housewives of Atlanta? And did Porsha decide, no, I want to keep doing Real Housewives of Atlanta? Again, what we're seeing with Real Housewives of Miami, Todd and Alexia. Is that what happened here? Is that she chose the reality show over her relationship? But here's the difference. I feel like for Porsha, she was like, I don't have control over my money. I'm living like a Stepford wife. Maybe being around these women sort of woke her up, and he didn't like that. Maybe she did change even after just 1 season of being on this show. Maybe she woke up. Word on the street, Cordell never remarried after this. We talked about that last week. Yeah. But he said either come home or fend for yourself. And she's like, no, I'm not going to come home. But here's the thing. You know what I thought of? Because, Cordell talked about her, about Miss Diane and the pepperoni pizza on his white couch. Um, as soon as she goes into this new home, you saw she spread herself on that kitchen counter. I was like, do we not have any coof? I get it's your daughter, but I was just like, girl, what are you doing up on someone's counter spread? Like, oh, I was like, okay, Miss Diane, but that was me. Is it just in my head? Would we normally do that if cameras weren't rolling? Probably no. I wouldn't do that in someone else's home, even if it was my daughter's. I mean, we probably should be impressed with the fact that she was able to hop. Like I can't even imagine hopping up on an island and now at my age. So if anything, we should be impressed. But maybe she's used to it. She's just like, I'm just saying. Tanya says that she was claiming that space. Yeah. I mean, they had a very close relationship, Miss Diane and her daughter. Natural Lux Diva says the apple doesn't. Ronaldo says, I hollered when you brought up the pizza. Well, that's what I was triggered. I was triggered. Okay. Exactly, Okima. Okemia says, or Okemian? Am I pronouncing incorrectly? Okemian. Why am I Okima? Oh, wait, no, it's Okemia. Why is your behind where my food goes? That's what I'm thinking. Like, why are you spread? I mean, look, I'm sure she's going to wipe the counter down, I hope. Maybe. Joke Playhouse says, y'all, that's her mama. Chill. I know, but we are recapping. We are recapping and sharing our thoughts. Alchemia says, mama have germs. Oh, Lord, y'all are not. This was the original Pizzagate, Funky. She says, Pizzagate. All right. Vicky says, just nasty to me. Shout out to everyone watching on Twitch. Shout out to everyone watching here on YouTube. Those of you watching on Facebook. And those of you watching the replay of this. This is our Rewind Rewatch recap of The Real Housewives of Atlanta Season 6, episodes 9 through 12. Don't forget, you can hear a podcast version of it on the Kempire podcast. All right. Let's get to episode... Okay, before we get to episode 11... we have to talk about Nene and Phaedra going back to Athens, and they do the Boys and Girls Club, and they speak, and I have to say, Chuck introducing Phaedra, she's a top attorney in the United States, and I said, the lies. But okay, the kids don't know any better. They're just like, okay. I mean, who knows? After seeing Phaedra, maybe someone was inspired to become an attorney. You never know. And they're probably a better attorney than Phaedra, okay? All right. Okay, so the most important part, because Chuck brought Nene and Phaedra back to Athens because you're like, we have to give back. The most important part of this scene was when Chuck confronts Phaedra about what was said about Phaedra's relationship and Kandi's relationship with him. And apparently he told Monique something different. And Monique got in his you-know-what when she got home. So he, in this scene... mind you, in the car, this felt a little aggressive. Like, you're driving the car and now you're aggressively attacking me about our relationship. And he basically was like, you were, before they called friends with benefits. You are part of the team. Oh. And then he starts to downplay his relationship to Kandi. He's like, you and Kandi. Kay says, Kev, please, fate inspiring who? I don't know. You never know. Moving on. I'm seeing some of y'all comments and I'm ignoring them. Just say. Vicky says, not you and Kandi. Yep, he said her, Phaedra and Kandi. He says that Phaedra was a friend with benefits. And he was like, a date. He was like, we never dated. And Phaedra's like, we did go on a couple of dates. And he was like, no, we didn't. You were a part of the team. But after watching that scene, I don't care about Phaedra or Kandi and the relationship, even if they embellished. I didn't like the way he approached it. And I don't think that they embellished it. Because then he started to go on. He's like, oh, I made Kandi feel good. And maybe I hyped her up a little bit. Their family was really good to me. And the food was good and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, this is gross. Sir, you just went and talked to young children. trying to inspire young children, and then you get on camera and this is what you do with two black women. This is what you do? Chuck, you are beyond lame. Beyond lame. I don't care what the whole situation was with Kandi and Phaedra. Clearly, you had some sort of relationship with them. Some sort of relationship. If you considered it, and look, some people might be in similar situations where people thought that they were in a deeper relationship than you were. Okay? But come on. The way that he did that, basically they were trapped in his car because he's driving and he brings it up. And then he's talking real crunk with them. Well, at least crunk with Phaedra in this moment. I thought that was it. He said that they were part of the team. Kandi and Phaedra. Wow. Okay. The rest is still unwritten. Thank you so much for the super chat. Free Peter. I kid. You know what? Free Peter. Yes. Free Peter in what? I think like a year. Yes. Free him then. Exactly. Michaela. There we go. Says beyond lame. He was trying to save face with the wifey because clearly he told the wifey something else. Because he said basically that Kandi was only 2 weeks, and Kandi was like, "No, we dated when I was 19, and then we dated again when I was 21." Okay, right? I didn't understand that. I thought it was like, y'all not that cool. Natural Luck says, and he was passing gas. He's gross. I thought that was so weird. First of all, I think it's weird in general. I don't care how close you are with anyone. I'm not passing gas in front of anyone. I'm not doing that. I know people that do that. And look, if you're pregnant, that's a whole other thing. You can't help it. You can't control it. But men that do that in front of their partners, I'm like, that's gross. Like, who wants to smell that? For me, that's sort of like you defecating in front of someone. No. Like, no one wants to see that or hear that or smell that. But the fact that they had to point, mind you, they haven't been hanging out. Yes, you grew up with these women, but still, y'all haven't been hanging out like that for you to be doing that in your car. Ew. Like, that already told me everything that I needed to know about Chuck. Yuck. All right, let's move on to episode 11. Before we do move on to episode 11, guys, don't forget the Kempire After Dark, the Villain Era's final show, will be here in New York City, September 12th. We're like 3 weeks away, or less than 3. No, 3 weeks away from our live show. Don't forget, you can either come to New York City, even if you're in the surrounding areas. Those of you that missed us in Philly, those of you that missed us in DC, this is your opportunity to come to New York City, make a weekend of it. It's on a Friday night. And the Green Room 42 is actually in a hotel. So you can book your hotel there. Just saying. I'm not saying you have to. I'm just giving you options, okay? And it's right there in the central part of New York City. Just saying. Don't forget, you can also, if you can't come to New York City or if you can't make that date, you can get a live stream ticket. The live stream ticket is good for 7 days, but you have to buy your ticket before September 12th. Get your tickets today. More information on the Kempire After Dark, a live experience, will be available in the description. And thank you to everyone that's come to our Philly show, our DC show, our Atlanta show. We appreciate you guys supporting. Thank you. Mama Ali says, I live on a farm half of the year. My husband is never worse than the cows. Oh, damn. See, but cows, they're animals. They are animals. Tanya says, I spit out some of my coffee when Kempire said, I get it if you're pregnant. It's true. Even this gay man knows that. Some of these men don't know that. So maybe they were part of the roster. Angel says locker room mentality. He's gross. Singer DST says, it's your Mama Joyce voice for me, Kempire. I love it. I couldn't really do it today too much. I've been talking a lot this weekend. From our DC show on Friday, then, we did our live on Saturday. Then I did a podcast episode for Club Kempire yesterday, and I was live on TikTok. Yeah, so I've been doing a lot of talking. I will say, for those that are just joining us, I have upgraded my internet. Even though my internet's been fine when we've gone live for the most part, but I had to go back to my Verizon Fios, and so far so good, right? I'm streaming good. Right? Look, maybe exactly. Okima says he thought that he was cool. What? I got married at the age of 5. You know what? Singer says she got a guilt trip Kandi and she falls for it every time. She does. She does, but I think she chooses that. But anyway. All right, let's move on to episode 11, Crunk in the Trunk. All right, so Phaedra tells Kandi about what Chuck said about them, and Kandi is just like, we are those girls, blah, 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 blah. And I love how she tries to include Phaedra in being one of those girls. And I'm just like, I guess maybe Phaedra was considered one of those girls because she represented Bobby Brown years ago. But all right, whatever. So she updates Kandi on what Chuck had to say. And she was just like, that's not the truth. All right. All right, so then we have this scene with Malerie and Peter, and they're talking about her staying for 2 months. Then, as they're having the, mind you, rewinding back time in the other episode, Malerie, when talking with Peter about staying for 2 months, and she was like, you didn't tell Cynthia about buying that car. Mallory's oversteps bounds into relationship stuff, and that is Cynthia's fault because you can't tell your sister something like that, especially knowing the relationship, and now your sister's going to mention it in an argument with your husband. I mean, she's right, but at the same time, it's just like, Malerie, shut up. So Malerie and Peter have a talk about her staying for 2 months, and she says that, and then she ends up talking about their sex life. Again, another thing that Cynthia confided in her, but now she's bringing it up in front of Peter, and Peter's just like, what? Very, very odd situation. But again, I blame Cynthia because it's Cynthia who should be putting down the boundaries. Okay? But I get it. We have to remember, they try to prevent the wedding. I don't think that changed their feelings on who Peter is. And based on what we're seeing from Peter in this season alone, Peter's a little funny and moves a little funny. Fast forward in 2025, so does the government. The government agrees with him. I mean, the government moves funny too, but you get what I'm saying. He's now in jail. So anyway, so she has that conversation with him. Kenya's father comes to visit in episode 11. And from the minute he gets in the car, he's dragging Kenya. We have to remember Kenya's father's mother was the one that raised Kenya. He was too young. He was 16 when she was born. All right. As soon as he gets in the car, he's like, you got your mother's feet. She says, they're a little ashy. Like, and corns. He was saying all kinds. As soon as he gets to her house, he's looking around like, who decorated this place? She's like, I did. It's my taste. She's like, oh, wood floors. She's like, yeah, I like it. She's like, I don't like it. But here's the thing. I'm sure a lot of you know a man like this, even if that man was in your life all your life. You know a relative I have relatives like this that will come in and nothing positive comes out of their mouth. I have aunties and uncles very much like this. And you're like, are you supposed to be saying stuff like that? DM says, I think D says, I think he had an IEP. Y'all know what that is, right? Someone in the chat tell people what that stands for, please. I think he had an IEP in school, huh? Lord. So, but mind you, his delivery is very funny. But at the same time, the reality of it is sort of like Kenya really doesn't have, her grandmother died, so she really doesn't have that motherly figure, someone that's going to be like, Kenya, stop that, or Kenya, I love you, Kenya, make her feel special. She lost that. And she doesn't get it from her mother. She barely gets it from, her aunts. and her father's dragging her the minute she walks in. You know what I mean? So he sees her, the minute he sees her, he's talking about her ashy feet and her corns. Then he gets to the house, he's like, "Oh, I don't like it. This looks terrible." Like you gotta give her a little bit of grace when you see what she's come from. All right. So Kenya then talks about wanting to make peace with the issues with her mother. And he's like, "Oh, that's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. I remember when she got pregnant, she said that." Thank you guys for educating people on the individualized education plan, IEP. But there's more to it. I know when you hear that, you're like, "Okay, what's wrong?" Josh says y'all wrong. He's funny as hell though. He is. But when you think about, that's your parent. Your parent. Okay? All right. So she then talks about wanting to connect with her mother, and he's like, "Oh, I remember. I remember when she said that she was pregnant. She said no one could ever know." And I was like, "How's that gonna work out?" He was funny. He had a very he's from Texas, a southern drawl, and he was like, "I don't know how that's gonna work out." So yeah. I wonder when exactly, because I'm trying to understand, and I'm so surprised after all these years we never really got in-depth answers to. Yes, Kenya grew up with her grandmother, but was her father involved at all? It doesn't feel like a father-daughter relationship. And I wonder too, because we get to see in this, I believe it's this episode. Yeah, this episode we get to see Kenya with her father's sister, and we get to see Aunt Lori again as well. There were, I know Aunt Lori, people said that ended up not wanting to do the show anymore because of the attention and everything like that. But we really never got to see any of Kenya's family after. I have to say that for the most part, we don't really get to see a lot of the extended family. Even Phaedra. And remember, I was asking about Phaedra's brother. Like, have we ever seen Phaedra's brother? We got to see some of Phaedra's family in the early years. But as things progressed, we ended up not seeing a lot of them. I wonder if we will in the New Year's. I definitely think we're going to see Apollo and his new son on this next season. I'm sure this is going to be a part of Phaedra's storyline. I mean, it is a part of her life, so I'm not going to be mad about it. But I know that it's going to be a part of her storyline. I'd be surprised if it's not, because nothing else is going on in her life. So you might as well give us the real. Nicole, thank you so much for being a member and for the super chat. Nicole says, I am so sick of the baby boomers. Toxic. Time to heal. Oh, don't come for the baby boomers. Not all the baby boomers are like that. But I get what you're saying. Thank you so much. AIM Z. Look, AIM. Okay. Anyway, thank you, AM, for the super chat. Is it true that her father violated her mom? Come on, y'all. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I don't know about that at all. And we're not going to go there. Let's not turn this into something darker than it needs to be. But thank you for the super chat. Gene says, Apollo has a new child? Yeah, they got a podcast. The timeline of him finding out is very suspicious. Apparently, Apollo found out when he was in jail. Apollo is as much of a liar as Phaedra is, if not worse. No, he's worse because he went to jail. He's worse. Singer says Faye's brother went to school with Nene in Athens. Yeah, we know that much. Michaela says, I don't think he would show his face on TV if so. Angel Babe says Kenya's family being complicit in her mother's abandoning her is crazy. Any family being okay with another member abandoning their kid is crazy. Unfortunately, Kenya's story is not that far from a lot of people's story. Can we talk about it? There are plenty of families that are complicit. I mean, come on now. If we were going to be talking about families being complicit in regards to abuse, and I'm not saying necessarily there was abuse here, but abuse, that uncle that touched someone in the family and they make excuses for that. Just saying, if we're going to talk about it, let's talk about it. Just saying. All right. Before I even get to the rest of episode 11 and episode 12, I am going to drop the call link for our members. This is not a part of the membership, but become a member. There's all kinds of perks to being a member here on the Kempire YouTube channel. Head on over to teamkempire.com/join. I'm going to drop the call in link for our members on the post tab. As I'm doing that, I will drop the call in link for the general audience, but let's get to 400 likes before I do that. And shout out to the replay crew. Replay crew, be sure to let us know your thoughts and opinions on season 6, episodes 9 through 12 as well. All right, members, I've just dropped the call-in link for you guys as well. Okay. Sidebar, in regards to Real Housewives of Potomac tea, I'm not going to get into too much, but I did see that Kiarna unfollowed Dr. Wendy. I wonder what happened during the season. They used to be so cool. Guess we'll have to wait and see. Look, if you come to the New York City show, I know Brooke says she has some tea to spill. Some tea was shared with me in regards to Potomac as well. I'm sure I will know more as well, so stay tuned. This is why you got to come to the show or get a ticket. Just saying. All right. Exactly. Natural Lux Diva says, facts, Kempire. Unfortunately, Kenya's story is not isolated. It is more prevalent than you know. That is why lots of BB need healing. Yeah, I agree. But I think the more we talk about it, the more we encourage, especially our people, to go into counseling. When I say our people, people of color, Black people, to go into counseling. This is where some of that can be healed and unpacked. And I think a lot of people probably don't even realize that they were abused because trauma response sometimes makes them block it out. Seasons with the Sap says, I'm sure Kenya's family dislikes the abandonment, but they can't force her. The woman disassociated from being pregnant and never wanted her. Yeah, but I think what people are saying is not even making Kenya's mom be a mother to Kenya, but I think they've also isolated Kenya as well. So I'm sure if the mom is going to be at family events, Kenya's not invited. And my thing is like, if I was like Kenya's cousin, I'm like, no, I'm inviting my cousin. Because although you don't want anything to do with her, she's still my cousin. She's still my family. I'm inviting her. I think that's what people are talking about. It's not the fact that they want to force the mother to own Kenya. What they're saying is that because of this, it's now caused a rift with Kenya being close with her own family. That's probably why we haven't really seen a lot of Kenya's family on Real Housewives of Atlanta. Thank you, Bookie Bear. Bookie Bear says, love the rewind recaps. We're loving it too, especially because it's actually when things were good and during a time when we weren't recapping Real Housewives of Atlanta. Mama Ali says, I've been in counseling my whole life because of my childhood trauma. I'm all for counseling for everyone. Yeah, it's important. I think it's definitely important. All right, let me move on. Let me open back up my notes. Let me see. Okay, so we had some of that. Kandi and Todd. So Kandi really wants Todd to be a part of her musical. They even go and they look at a venue. She's in there singing to test out the acoustics. You know, she's working on this musical. She wants Todd to be a part of it. Todd is like, I can't do this with you because there are certain things that he needs to be done and they're not doing it the way that he needs them done, like scheduling, budgeting, all this stuff. And she feels hurt because she wants him to be a part of it. And she's like, you know, she gets emotional. This is where I said Kandi starts giving that bratty energy. She's like, I know you want to go take your other job. You go take your other job. I'm like, okay. And he's like, why are you crying right now? She's like, you know, but you just go take your other job. And in Kandi's perspective, again, although I thought she was being bratty, she had futuristic vision in regards to what they could do as a couple. And if a tourist wants to work with you, you better work with them because we're pretty intuitive when it comes to people we want to work with and the potential. A lot of the times, there are people that I've wanted to work with and I've tried working with, but they keep dropping the ball. And I'm like, y'all gonna be mad later on when you miss that this train is out the station and we've taken off. There's been so many examples of that in my life. And I'm just like, you know what? I can't carry people along the way. You got to be able to bring something to the table. And I think that's what Kandi saw in Todd. She saw that even though everybody was calling Todd an opportunist, she saw no. She saw what everyone else did not see, that he is a hard worker. He knows what he's talking about. And she knew he would do certain things that she knows herself that she's not able to do. And I think that's what she saw in him. And she wanted to work with him, but he was sort of like, I think also Todd not only wanted to make his own money, he also didn't want it to fall into what Mama Joyce was calling him, an opportunist. And I think that was part of the reason why he didn't want to work with her. Kay says, you should always take opportunities if you can. You should. But I found like you can't give everybody opportunities. This is why I really try not to work with friends, family, and things like that, because a lot of times I don't know what it is. Maybe because they're just not as passionate as you are. Teresa said Kandi saw his potential. She did. She did. And I think Todd honestly wanted to just do stuff on his own because, especially with Mama Joyce, if Mama Joyce didn't cause what she caused, I think he probably would have been more into it. Ooh. Miss Parker says Kandi and Todd talked about this during their episode on the series Black Love on OWN. I would have to see the clip of that. Ooh, Saintly Iconic Soul says, I wish my Taurus was like that, but he's not, unfortunately. Wait, I need you to explain that. Like, I need to understand the perspective that you're trying to give me here. Saintly. And what's your sign? You know what? Here we go, Josh. Josh says, when I see a billionaire, I will be taking the opportunity. You twisted if you don't take opportunities. I think people also, a lot of the reason why people don't take opportunities, it's not just because they're lazy. It's more so they are insecure about their own abilities. And they have a lack-minded consciousness. And I've seen that. I've seen that in some of my friends that, they still, because they grew up in a certain way and instilled certain things. And I'm a strong believer that if you can, and I've said this to like my own siblings too, like you can't stay stuck in a lack-minded consciousness if you keep you're saying that you want to elevate and have this certain type of lifestyle. And it's not necessarily to be a millionaire or billionaire. It's saying you want a certain lifestyle. It's like you can't say that you want a certain lifestyle, but you're still conducting your life like in another lifestyle. If you want those two worlds to mesh, if you want to manifest that life, you have to not just believe it and feel it. You have to really move like that. You can't move with a lack-minded consciousness. You can't move like, oh, I can't pay my rent. I can't do. And no one's saying that you need to spend anything. It's more about feeling that way. But anyway, Jean says, scared of failure. That's me. That's a lot of Tauruses. That's why we take our time with a lot of stuff before we move forward. But that's where I feel like Todd being a Leo, I'm not sure what his other stuff is what I think helped push Kandi and elevated Kandi. Like Kandi, yes, she was very successful, but there's a lot of stuff that she probably would have never done. A restaurant, she probably would have never done it because there's so many people that start restaurants and they fail. Okay. See, look, Controversy of Diamond says, thank you for this message. I needed this. Look, V says I needed this. See? A lot of people, I'm telling you, I've had that conversation with people before. I used to manage an artist. I've had that conversation with them. I was like, I can't want for you more than you want for yourself. And I'm telling you, when you look at these people's lives, because they haven't gotten out of that lack-minded consciousness, their lives have stalled. And that's not shade. It is what it is. It's a fact. All right. Josh says, I feel that I'm scared of the emotions after failure. But here's the thing. Those emotions after a quote failure, you've labeled it a failure. Those emotions after a failure, you've chosen. You've connected the emotions to that failure. Because, and I remember it was Dr. Maya Angelou that said this. I can't remember the exact way that she said it, but you can look at that failure very differently. I'll tell you this story and then we'll move on very quickly. Before I left the law firm, it was like the last year. It was right before the pandemic. It was probably like 2019. I was like, you know what? I wanted to get out of the law firm. I mean, I didn't want to step out on faith and do this 100%. So I was like, I want to get into the tech world. I want to work in the tech world. I want to get into that because I just like the feel of that. I was like, and plus it would be something different. I wanted to elevate. There was no growth at the law firm. So I went and I interviewed. I went through this whole interview process, blah, 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 blah. And it was like it was going to be an elevated title and this and that. And I was like, I'm going to be in the tech world. It's going to be a real techie. You can wear jeans to work. No more business casual. Fine. I didn't get the job. And I was so disappointed that I didn't get the job. Like I was disappointed. I was mad. I was just like, oh. And then I said to myself, eventually, because you got to feel your feelings. But eventually, I got over it. But then the universe always gives you the answer because later on, because I knew someone who had recommended me for the job. I knew someone who ended up working there. That company ended up being bought out by another company. I'm sure people lost their jobs. My friend lost her job at the time. So all of it had a purpose. And mind you, I would have gotten into who knows what my life would have been working at that company. Then the pandemic happened. And I'm sure that affected the company. I don't even think that company is even in existence anymore. Well, no, it's not. It's not. It was bought out by another company. So that failure wasn't a failure. And the emotions that I had connected to not getting that job was my choice. I could have, in that moment, not saying that none of us are perfect. In that moment, I could have been like, you know what? Thank God I didn't get that job because look where I am today. Who knows what my life would have been if I had gotten that job? I probably would have been stuck in that job for another 10 years. I would have been an old man. Okay. We've digressed, but no, it's all connected to what we're talking about when it comes to the rewind, rewatch, recap. We have a different perspective on what we're watching in season 6 of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. If you're just joining us, guys, don't forget to like this video and don't forget to share this video. If you're watching it, sharing is caring. Let's continue to build our community. We're almost at 550,000 subscribers here on YouTube, but also follow us on Twitch. I am going to go live on Twitch as well. Twitch.tv/TheKempire. We're live right now, but I mean like separately. Exactly. Danny says tech companies were the first to do layoffs during COVID. Just saying. Everything. Exactly. Just Chilling says one's rejection is God's protection. Is that what you're saying? Exactly. And again, it's all about changing your perspective. Josh says we appreciate a message needed in this Monday. Yes, there we go. Thank you so much, Saintly Iconic, for the super chat. We appreciate your support. Thank you. All right, let me get to this last episode. If you're a member of the channel, I've already posted the call-in link on the community tab, a live chat. We're already at 420 likes, not 420. I'm dropping the call-in link in the live chat as well. All right, let me get to this last episode and then we will get to the callers. Okay? All right, so the last episode. Okay, wait, sidebar. Before we even get to the last episode, because there were some elements from Crunk in the Trunk that I wanted to talk about. So Kenya calls Kandi's play. They made a lot of derogatory comments about Phaedra's body in these last 2 episodes. They made... they'd like to impersonate Kandi. Sort of like they treated her like a country bumpkin, basically. And I know they talked about that. I don't know if they talk about it in this season or was it last season. And Kenya says, Kandi's chitlin circuit. She's joking with Nene. You're not going to be in it. And Nene is just like, I just got off a Ryan Murphy production. She's like, I'm not doing, I don't have the time. I don't need to do it. Which I get. I mean, I get not everything is for everyone. All right. Malerie. So Cynthia ends up having a jewelry party for Malerie's jewelry line, and she invites all the girls. Malerie and Kenya, first they were cool, and then all of a sudden it went left because they started talking about Malerie coming to stay for 2 months, and everyone had their opinions. So Kenya starts voicing her opinion, and so Malerie shuts her down. She's just like, "You need to mind your business," basically, is what she says to her. Then Porsha ends up coming, and Porsha was already there, but Porsha, it was revealed in the group that Porsha had moved and she moved near Nene, but she hadn't told Nene yet. Nene finds out at the party, and Nene confronts Porsha, and she was like, "You're a bad friend." And Porsha, very manipulative in her own way, starts crying and runs away. And Nene was like, "I'm not trying to hear that. I'm not trying to hear that. You're very manipulative. You're a bad friend." I mean, pay attention to this behavior in season 6, because it does come up again in later seasons. And as you saw in season 16, even though Shamia did not land really well in season 16, it still didn't make me look at Porsha like she was a great friend. Anyone else? Did it change your perspective on Porsha as a friend? Not really. I still think she was a bad friend. All right. Let's move to episode 12. Episode 12 of season 6 of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. It's called Sour Grapes and Sour Peaches. All right. So Natalie, when hanging out with Cynthia, spills on Kandi and Todd. Spills on Candy's relationship with Todd, she spills on Todd, saying that Todd dated her friend, and her friend, Ione, I think her name is, accused Todd of cheating on her multiple times. I don't know how long ago this relationship was. However, though, what do you guys think? Once a cheater, always a cheater? I don't know if I believe that. Again, was this when he was a teenager? How old was he when this went down? Okay. But then Natalie goes on to say that Todd was, she didn't say opportunist, but basically she said he was a hustler and he would always try to find himself in a better situation to better himself. So basically an opportunist. She didn't want to say opportunist, but that's basically what she described. So she reveals that to Cynthia, which was interesting. And then Peter, interesting, had his own comments on it. It's like, "Oh, so what you trying to say about him?" Basically what people now know about you, Peter. Opportunist, a little shaky. All right. So then we have this other scene with Kenya and her aunts coming together. Her aunt Lori came from her mom's side, but then her aunt Lisa from her dad's side all came over for dinner. And this is where Kenya reveals that she wants to have a kid. So she might need to get a bigger place, even though her place is fairly big. Which, mind you, this is only, a few years before Kenya ends up having Brooklyn. So it took her some time, but she says she started the whole fertility. She was going to start the whole fertility journey. Okay. Then in another scene, this is when Kandi goes to look at different venues, and Todd has to go take a phone call about this other opportunity. He's saying that he comes back and he's like, he's not really feeling this other opportunity, and he wants to know if there's still space on her team. And she's like, "Yes, there is." And she's like, "This is what I always wanted, was them to work together." So now Todd's going to come in, and I guess this is their very first project working together, and was this stage play. Okay. And mind you, at this particular point, it's so crazy when you think about, oh, wow, come on, guys, can we just take this back? They started with A Mother's Love to go on to produce multiple Broadway plays, get nominated multiple times for Tony Awards, break records on their most recent one, work with legendary actors on these plays, from Samuel L. Jackson to Denzel Washington. All came from A Mother's Love that Nene didn't want to work on. Damn. Damn, Nene. Because here's the thing. You build a relationship with certain people, especially someone like Kandi. She's going to always want to work with you. She's always going to want to put you in position. And I believe if Kandi had a position for Nene, I think she still would consider Nene. Because she's a business person. She's not going to let feelings, because I know they recently were talking about doing business together. So I already know Kandi, despite their history, would have still brought Nene in. But here's the important detail here. Stop burning bridges when you don't need to burn a bridge. Because there are certain producers that work with the same actors again and again because they're easy, not just because they're talented, because they are easy to work with. And that is the key. When hiring, look, come on, Pageant Mommy, you in the building? When you're hiring someone for a position, it's not just about their skill set. Are they going to get along well in the environment? Are they going to be able to work well with others? That is the important detail when casting reality television, but also hiring in the workplace. Boom! But you see how far they've come from A Mother's Love in season 6 to now they've produced multiple Broadway shows, breaking Broadway records and Tony nominations. And they're working on another Broadway play. Okemia says, don't burn bridges you may need to cross later. Just saying. It's true. It's so true. Okay. All right. But someone like me will build my own bridge. Might take a little bit longer, but I don't burn bridges like that. Okay? I just tell the truth, and sometimes the truth hurts some people. All right. Right? I've said this before, V. Spencer. V. Spencer says she would. Nene said that she would never leave a Ryan Murphy production to join a Kandi Burruss production. And now Ryan Murphy doesn't utilize her the way he utilizes his people over and over and over again. Which I'm surprised, because Nene was good on The New Normal. She was good on Glee. Hold on. Queen Shamama says, as I'm scheduled to do interviews Friday to add to my team, everyone is qualified. Can you fit in with us? See? I know that's right, Shamama. Queen D Shamama. Just Chilling says, Kandi did bring Nene on and she made that comment to the heckler that got her fired. Huh? I don't remember what you're talking about. Ooh, Keith says, now Nene isn't working with any production. Power of the tongue. Well, let me say thank you because we had quite a few super chats. Thank you, V. Cute picture, V. V says, as a Capricorn, the work ethic is there, but security plays a big part in holding me back. Here's the thing. Based off of my research, when I've done collabs with Femtaro, I believe that Kandi has like a Capricorn in her big 3. So not only is she a practical Taurus, she also has a Capricorn in her big 3. I don't know if it's a Capricorn moon or rising. I think it's rising. So I can only imagine. V says, peach juice had us fooled back then. Porsha. Thank you, Saintly. Saintly says, I'm the you in my relationship. I'm the you in my relationship, even though I'm the, what is that again? What sign is that? What sign is that? I can't think. Oh my God, it's on the tip of my tongue and I can't think of the symbol. Someone remind me what that sign is. Bernice, thank you so much for the super chat. Bernice says, I wouldn't say once a cheater, always. I think if they do believe they can get away with it, then they will do it again. But only a few really do it once. And also, you see the dynamic of Kandi's relationship. Like, you know, they've kind of kept it open in their relationship. So not open relationship. I think it's sort of like they'll play together kind of thing. So I guess it keeps it spicy. Couldn't be me. I'm surprised the Taurus is even doing that. Cancer. Thank you. I couldn't think about it. Cancer. So she says that I'm the you in my relationship, even though I'm the Cancer. But Cancer and Tauruses, they said, are compatible. So it makes sense why you guys are together. But yeah. All right. Moving on, guys. Keep liking the video. Oh, did I drop the call link for the general audience? I think I did. All right. Let me just finish up episode 12 before we get to the callers, and then we're gonna wrap up our recap of The Real Housewives of Atlanta season 6, the Rewind Rewatch recap with myself. Don't forget you can also hear it on the Kempire podcast. Subscribe today, and while you're there, don't forget to give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. Okay. Lou says it's Virgo season. By the way, we started the show by saying it's Virgo season. Just saying. Calm down, Virgos. Calm down. All right. So Natalie spilled that tea. Kenya met up with her aunts. Kandi looked at venues with Todd. Todd's joined the team. The group then takes a trip, and this is where we get to see Marlo. This wasn't our first time seeing Marlo, right? Did we see Marlo in season 5? Isn't that when we saw Marlo? Well, we get to see Marlo no, this might be Marlo's first season. I can't remember. You guys will correct me in the chat. So we get to meet Marlo. Marlo joins the group, and Marlo's already starting trouble. Okay. Nene was like, Marlo, you know Kenya. You guys both go to Miss Lawrence. We get to see Miss Lawrence quite a few times during this season as well. Okay. So we get to see Marlo. So once they head on over to, mind you, in the sprinter there, Cynthia is spreading all kinds of the rumors and the tea and sharing with the group what Natalie said about Todd. Okay. And Kenya's like, who is this? Okay, Marlo's first season was wait. Okay, I'm seeing mixed information. Some people saying season 4. Some people are saying season 3. Season 4, the Africa trip with Sheree. Oh yeah, I forgot about that when they were going. I almost forgot. But I guess maybe they gave her a little bit of a break. Okay, thank you. I see. It's all coming back to me now. Sorry. Superstar 7 says she sat out season 5 for making that homophobic comment. There we go. Thank you for reminding us. Okay. Chef Lorraine says Marlo entered in season 4. Yeah, I was pretty sure this wasn't the first time, but okay. Africa with the her and Sheree. All right, so they get to the vineyard. All right, and they're looking at the vineyard. They're hanging out. The ladies are. I have to say, there's a good chemistry with the season 6 cast. Okay, because even though they weren't necessarily tight with each other, they meshed well together. The chemistry with this cast was really good. So Natalie says that she got married to Christopher Williams in Vegas. Here's the thing. I have to call Kenya out. Kenya started with Natalie. And I don't know how people are going to try and rewrite history. No. Based on what we're watching in this episode 12 of season 6, Kenya started with Natalie. She's like, that's not what I heard. I heard that, he used to refer to you as his common law wife. And she was like, what? So it gets a little heated between Kenya and Natalie in that moment. And Natalie's like, he's told me a few things about you that I can mention too. And she was like, well, there's a few things that everybody that was on, I guess, whatever tour she was on with Christopher Williams could say. All right. So I thought that was really interesting that Kenya started it. And then when it comes back up a little bit later on, where Natalie talks about knowing Todd and how that he was some sort of opportunist, comes up again later. Well, Kenya brings it up. That she was like, oh, you called Todd an opportunist. So they end up going back and forth because Candy's sort of like, wait, what? What's going on right now? So this comes up again later when they sit down in regards to, I forgot what they were talking about, but then Kenya chimes in and we're like, oh, you shouldn't do that. And then Natalie's like, well, you did that in regards to bring up her relationship. And Phaedra's like, if you're not married, you shouldn't talk about anyone's marriage. All right. So that's when Kenya spills the tea on what Natalie was saying about Todd being an opportunist. And Kandi, you know what Nene said on that sprinter? Don't nobody talk about my man, my mama, or my food, when she was mimicking Kandi. So Kandi was like, I must be it, the it girl. He can stop with me because if you guys are talking about me like this and he's some sort of opportunist. So you know what I mean? So that's how episode 12 ends, is that scuff up between Natalie and Kenya. But again, here's the thing. Kenya started it. So when Natalie talks about the whole knowing Todd situation and Kenya tries to chime in and like, oh, you can't do that. I'm like, girl, you started this. No one else started this but you, Kenya. I'm sure I'm sure Carlos appreciated in that moment you being a force multiplier in that moment to start this, stir things up. But you started this and you came at her relationship out of nowhere. Out of nowhere. But again, this is Housewives. This is something that they do. Oh, Superstar 7 says Kenya was in her feelings over her former situationship wifeys being in the group. I'd feel some type of way too, not gonna lie. Bernice, thank you so much for the super chat. Bernice says cancers are not loyal, so sadly we don't last. Wow, Bernice. Not her reading the cancers. I don't know about that. I don't know if I would say that. I definitely think they can be loyal. I mean, you know how I feel about cancers. But then there's that. Oh, you know what I will say? Nene made a lot of sense because Nene was definitely the voice of reason during the back and the forth, especially when talking about the whole opportunist. Nene was like, don't try and water it down now, Natalie. Because Natalie's like, oh, I never called him an opportunist. I said, he tries to get in where he can fit in. And like she was doing all this other stuff. And Nene was the one to say, don't try and water it down now, Natalie. And I was like, well, you have to give it to Nene. She was definitely the voice of reason. There are a lot of really great qualities of Nene in these early seasons. Yes, Nene started to feel herself a little bit later on, but I can appreciate her in these moments. Oh, Kay says, my mom is a Cancer and she's been loyal to her detriment. See? Oh, not a Scorpio with a Cancer mom. All right. Thank you, Bernice, for the super chat. She says, it's cool because you can't keep a Taurus down. Bernice has been burned by a Cancer, y'all. So she said what she said, and she's standing on it. All right. So if you are a member of the channel, I did drop the call and link for you guys in the live chat and on the post tab as well. So I'm going to get to some of the callers. Don't forget the opinions of the callers do not represent the opinions of myself, the Kempire LLC, or our sponsors, and everything that they say is alleged. And we're still talking about the season 6 of the Real Housewives of Atlanta. All right. This is a part of our new series, the Rewind, Rewatch, Recap with Kempire, which you can also hear on the Kempire podcast, where you can also become a part of our new paid podcast subscription on Apple, Club Kempire. I dropped a nice, juicy episode talking about everything that went down in DC. The tea that I dropped in DC can also be found there. There's a free 3-day trial, so be sure to check that out. All right, let's move on to Cynthia. Cynthia, what did you want to share? Nice meeting you in DC.
Nice meeting you too, Kempire. How are thee?
I'm well. How are you?
Fine. I just purchased your tickets for the live stream New York.
Thank you.
And I also wanted to those that are still undecided about going by themselves, I went by myself and I met what's her name? Future MD. That's who I sat with.
Natalie.
Yeah. And we're both Cancers. Loyal.
No. Yeah, because you guys sat at the table, the VIP tables.
Correct. Okay. Yeah, we had a great time. It was a definitely vibe. It was a vibe, Kempire. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Season 6 was a good season as well. I want to ask, do you think that Kenya's behavior? Do you think it's because of her and her mom's relationship?
Oh, without a doubt. I think because, people always want to say that Kenya is not really like a girl's girl. I think because she didn't really have an example of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so I
exactly.
think some of those little things about Kenya is without a doubt unhealed trauma from being rejected by your mother. I can't imagine what that must feel like being rejected by your mother.
I can only imagine. And it kind of brings me back to Ashley. Remember Ashley Darby went to go see her father?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it was because of they were filming or I don't know, but it's really, really sad. Really, really sad. But either way, Kempire, it was so nice seeing you. I look forward to seeing you again.
Yeah.
I showed my kids your picture. They're like, is that Kempire? They went back to school today. Have a good day, everyone.
You
Thanks,
too, Cynthia.
Kempire.
Take care. Bye. Superstar 7 says, not Kempire doing zodiac seating at his shows. It's so funny because a lot of the Virgos were kind of seated with each other. I was like, please pay attention to the signs that you were next to at the show. Just saying. No, everyone gets to choose their own seating. So, all right. Again, guys, don't forget to get your tickets. This is the last show of 2025, the last show of the year. You never know, this could be my last show in general. I mean, life is short. God forbid. All right, Tyler's backstage. What did Tyler have to say about season 6?
Hi, Kempire.
Hey.
Well, it's been a while, but let me say this. With season 6, I will say this. While that season was great, it also shows where Kenya was so performative. I wish that she would have brought some of, because the real Kenya, when she toned down and really found her place in the group, was around maybe when she returned, when she had the baby. I wish some of that Kenya was in that season. I could not stand her back then. Watching this now makes me miss Nene a lot because as much as she got on my nerves, she is a voice of reason and she's willing to keep it real with everyone. Porsha has never been anyone's friend. Like,
No.
it's sad to see she's never been anyone's friend. And I think it starts with that pizza eating mama. I don't know, but it just is. I love Cynthia more than I did back then. That's
Yeah.
weird. Cynthia, I used to call her boring,
Mm.
but to be honest, I could see a world where a Cynthia and a Nene stayed around now, if that
Mm.
made sense, because they were actually a very good duo. Had Kenya not got in there and kind of mixed some of that up, I'm being
Mm.
like being and well, honestly, if Nene was secure enough not to let Kenya play mind games with her, that's what actually happened.
Mm.
But I would love to see a world where Nene was come back. Unfortunately, that may not be happening, but I do like the dynamic of Cynthia and Nene. They balance very well. There's a true sisterhood there.
Yeah. And they're in
Other
a better
than
place
that,
now, too.
right. Other than that, I mean, it's just Portia has always been a horrible person. I'm sorry. And last but not least, let me say this. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. Y'all need to leave some of y'all need to leave K Michelle alone. My
Why?
girl is very educated. I read the comments. My
Oh.
girl is very educated. And K Michelle code switches. What you saw on Love and Hip
Oh.
Hop was very much I'm adapting to the environment I'm
Mm-hmm.
around. She's very smart and knows how
Oh,
to play her
yeah.
role. I think she's going to be amazing on the Housewives of Atlanta. I'm from Memphis. I have to stand up for my Memphis girl. Sorry, I know that's another subject, but I have to.
No,
That's
we talked
all
a little
though.
bit about K Michelle and her posts over the weekend at the top of this. So it's still related.
Yeah, I just think honestly, Kempire, I really do think that I think that people thinks what happened on Love and Hip Hop was her true, genuine
Mm.
personality. It may be, but it was hyping to get where she needs to go. And I think people forget K Michelle is a college graduate who was about to go to law school, who knows classical piano, guitar, all that. Love and Hip Hop just was not the environment to
Mm.
display that. I think that she will do well on this cast. She knows how to maneuver wherever she's at. She
Mm.
wouldn't be on all these shows
She's
and
also a
get all
Pisces,
these
so that makes
opportunities.
sense.
Yeah, she wouldn't get all these opportunities if she didn't. Think about it. They haven't banned her from any networks, and every producer says she was actually the easiest to work with because she lets it go once the camera is down. But that's
Mm.
all.
Okay. Tyler, what's your sign?
I'm a Sagittarius,
Of course.
Libra moon, Scorpio rising. I think that's what it is. Yes, I know. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Okay. Noted.
All right,
Thanks,
Kempire.
Tyler. Bye. We love what Tyler calls it. Shout out to Tyler. It has been a while since Tyler called it, but Black Sundays are not happening right now. And Tyler, I don't know if Tyler, do you watch the other shows? Tyler, I guess not. Tyler's gone. That's all right, Tyler. All right, Jamaris is back, so we're gonna bring Jamaris up next. Jamaris, what did you want to share?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I just want to say season 6 was a good season. Overall, everybody contribute. But I do want to say like you do kind of see the cracks of like Apollo and Phaedra
Mm.
marriage, because season 7 was kind of like a dark season for like RHOA. So like it was good. I feel like Nene was very humble. Like she knew how to produce. And I just think it was a good season. And I was a Candy hater back then, but now I'm saying Candy, like Candy was a boss, like a triple
Mm.
threat. She knew how to like carry herself. Her family dynamic made her like really pop. And like she's an Atlanta girl, and I'm from Atlanta, so like I get it. But this was a good season. I love the channel, and yeah, y'all have a good day.
Thank you, Jamers. Take care. I have to say though, I understand why people didn't like Candy back then. I could see her vision for the future when it comes to what she wanted to achieve by using this platform and her relationship with Todd. But I could also see why people would have been annoyed with her, especially with how she did not really put boundaries down when it comes to her mother and how her mother was conducting herself on the show and her relationship with Todd. Just saying. Okay, let's bring up Jess. Jess will be our last caller. Jess, what did you want to share?
Yeah, I just want to speak on the Kenya situation with her
Mm,
mom,
yeah.
and because I worked in foster care for a minute now, and so I think that for me, like I kind of see things like a little bit differently, like
Hmm.
because what happened, what I kind of understand with them is that they had somewhat of an internal adoption where
Mm,
because I remember there was an episode, I think it was season 10, where Kenya was saying that like that her grandmother on her dad's side was really the one who stepped up and raised her,
yes.
and it was sort of a thing where it's like the mother said, like, I don't want to have a kid or whatever. And then the grandmother was like, give her to me, I'll raise her.
Hmm.
And so, in a way, that's an adoption. And, when we think about the other options apart from adoption, such as, and so it's sort of a thing where it's like people sort of like have these choices. And if you're saying that someone has a choice to adopt, to give a child to adoption,
Mm,
then it's their way of saying that they don't consent to being a parent and they don't consent to the existence in a way. And so
mm,
I think that for her, like she's also not like from what I understand, Kenya alluded that she's not mentally there all the way either.
mm,
So I think that like there is this method of her wanting to, sort of like I guess like dissociate and act as if like she's never had a child before.
yeah.
And I think that Aunt Lori's presence in her life is just a way for her to stay connected to her mother's side and to say like, hey, like I'm here for you and everything.
Yeah.
And I think that's like Aunt Lori, she was sort of like later on, of course we'll see. She was like, don't knock on her door, like it's her right. And
Mm,
Kenya's sort of like, it's my right to have access to her. But
mm,
if we think about terminating parental rights, you really don't have that right in a way.
mm.
So I think that for me, like that's where I kind of understand things a little bit. But yeah,
Okay. Thank you, Jess, for sharing that perspective.
no problem.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye. All right. I think that's important. There's so much that's unanswered when it comes to that Kenya and her mother's situation. And when I think about what Jess was bringing up in regards to it, it makes me think about Oprah and her relationship with her own mother, which was very complicated. It wasn't the same where Oprah could not speak to her mother or was disowned by her mother, but she definitely did not feel like her mother was her mother. And remember, she ends up growing up with her father as opposed to her mother. So this happens to a lot of people, but everyone reacts very differently to this. And I would definitely consider this like childhood trauma. You know what I mean? Was it intentional? Look, I wouldn't say that it's intentional, but doesn't mean that it didn't cause trauma to Kenya. And I don't know if that's been healed in therapy. I don't know if I know Kenya has talked about going to therapy, but I don't know. I don't know if it's really been healed. All right. Shout out to everyone that called in. We appreciate you guys being a part of the Rewind, Rewatch, Recap here on the Kempire YouTube channel and podcast. So make sure you subscribe to our podcast today. Thanks to everyone that sent in Super Chats, Venmos, Cash Apps. Any way that you can support the channel, we appreciate it. And the easiest free way you can support the channel is by liking today's video. And if you're listening to the podcast, giving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. Reminder, the Kempire After Dark Live experience is coming to New York City. Our final summer tour date of 2025. The Brooke Ashley will be opening up for us. She has some RHOP tea. I got some RHOP tea. I got my own personal tea that I got to share. There's all kinds of things. You just don't know what the show is going to look like. I'm going to try and keep certain elements of what we discuss in Philly, in Atlanta, and DC. However, every single show is so different because the news keeps changing. So make sure you guys get your tickets today if you're going to be in New York City or will be in New York City or want to be in New York City. Or This show exclusively has a live stream option. So go get your tickets today for that. All ticket information will be available in the description. Thank you to our King's Guards. Thank you to our channel members. Become a member today at teamkempire.com/join. And of course, thank you to our subscribers. And those of you still not subscribed, you're missing out, but that's on you. All right. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much, RC, for the super chat. RC says, well, Kandi clocked Kenya as to why she was after Natalie in the reunion. Well, we didn't get to reunion yet, RC. We're taking it moment by moment, okay? Kenya used to be involved with Christopher Williams, and she didn't know that she was a side chick. P.S. Most cancers are very loyal, just saying. Yeah, I don't know cancers to not be. Let me look. Bernice, thank you so much for the super chat. Bernice says, Kempire, all the cancers speaking loyalty are female. I can't with you guys. Lord have mercy. Peyton, I see you called in last minute. What do you want, Peyton? Peyton? I can't hear you, Peyton. All right. Oh, Peyton dropped out. There we go. All right. All right, guys. I appreciate you all being here. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Monday. I will see you later this week for our recaps of the Real Housewives of Orange County, Real Housewives of Miami, all of that. Be sure to check out the recaps for those, because I know there'll be someone like, when are you going to do your recap of Orange County or Miami? They're done. Like my teeth. They're done. My teeth are not done. These are all my teeth. They're done. No, the recaps are done. You can hear them on the podcast. You can watch them here on YouTube. Be sure to check that out as well. All right. All right. I'll see you all. And don't forget to follow me on other platforms like TikTok, Twitch, because I will go live sporadically on there as well. All right, guys. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Have you liked the video yet? We're almost at 500 likes. Like the video. Like it. All right. Bye, y'all. See you all in the next one.
Here we go now.